Amendment Bill introduction.
The bills are set down for first reading. The House comes to oral questions, the first in the name of the Right Honourable Chris Hipkins.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Prime Minister, does he stand by all of his government statements and actions?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Yes.
Supplementary. Who's correct, the Prime Minister, when he said we've got the right economic plan, or the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Winston Peters, who said his government is pursuing a failed economic strategy?
Well, I'm not sure the member said that. I just say the Minister of Foreign Affairs has been here a long time. He's been here almost half a century. He has a lot of entrenched positions on lots of different things. But he and I are very, very cognisant of what our pronouns are, and they are we.
Supplementary. Does he agree with Winston Peters that his government has, quote, failed to run the economy properly, end quote? And if not, how is shrinking the economy by 1.2% proper economic management?
Well, as we have discussed before in this House, this government inherited the biggest recession in 35 years. It also inherited the longest post-COVID hangover, which I note that members on the opposite side failed to take responsibility to discuss or show up for any hearings on. And as a result, it's been difficult cleaning up that mess. But the good news is that parts of our economy are recovering well, other parts are continuing to struggle, but there are positive signs that future growth is on the way. Just look at the 3.5% growth in job ads, look at the 4% growth in exports, look at the job-rich infrastructure activities that are coming our way.
Supplementary question. Well, does he agree with Winston Peters that the government is, quote, not actually fixing the economy, end quote? And if not, how does he explain why more people are out of work and staying out of work for longer than at any time in the last 30 years?
Well,
Please repeat the question without any interruptions from anywhere in the House.
Well, does he agree with Winston Peters that the government is, quote, not actually fixing the economy, end quote? And if not, how does he explain that more people are out of work and staying out of work for longer than at any time in the last 30 years?
Well, because there was a Labor government that increased government spending by 84%, that drove up domestic inflation, which drove up interest rates 12 times to record highs, that ends up putting an economy into recession, and that end up meaning people lose their jobs. The good news is that unemployment is about peaking. It's less than what the forecast was under your government, under his government.
Supplementary question. Was Winston Peters correct when he said that the current government, of the current government this morning, quote, we haven't turned the economy around in the way we should have as fast as we should have, end quote? If not, why was he wrong?
Well, as I've said, parts of our economy are recovering well and experiencing growth. As I've said before, it's a two-speed recovery at this point in time. There are parts that are also struggling. But the good news is, just look at the commentators' reports, look at the forecast going forward from here, and you can see that people are feeling positive that the economy is now growing. It's expected to strengthen its growth, and that's a good thing that we should be celebrating, because cleaning up in a mess after 6 years of mismanagement in less than 2 years is pretty good.
Supplementary question. Will he guarantee there will be no sale or reduction of the government's current 100% ownership of Kiwibank before the election? If not, why not?
I've been very clear, we won't have asset sales under this term. But as I said yesterday, we should be able to have a more serious conversation rather than a political one about what is the optimal use of capital. Very high-functioning economies like Singapore, one of the hallmarks of their success is asset recycling, and we should look to do the same.
Question, Mr Speaker. In that case, is the government proceeding with Kiwibank's current capital raise, which Kiwibank has announced will be concluded by June next year? If so, how can he say that the government's ownership of Kiwibank won't be diluted before the next election?
There is ongoing engagement with the market and there's ongoing advice being taken.
Mr Speaker, the Prime Minister said in his answer to the previous question there will be no asset sales before the election. Kiwibank are currently in the process of trying to raise capital, and that is going to be concluded, according to Kiwibank's announcement and the announcement of the Minister of Finance, by June next year.
That's not
I've asked the Prime Minister how he can reconcile those two statements.
Understand the economics.
Well, you're asking me to judge the quality of the answer. I sit here listening to the question and immediately in my head thinking there are many ways in which capital can be raised. If the Prime Minister's got more to add, he may do so. Point of order, the Honourable David Seymour.
Mr Speaker, it was clear to everyone that the Prime Minister had addressed the question as standing orders require. The Leader of the Opposition is using points of order to make political points.
Yes, well, I think the
unacceptable.
Leader of the ACT Party is doing exactly the same thing at the moment. I was in the middle of explaining a position when you decided you'd add your little bit to it. Very unhelpful. Does the Prime Minister have more to say?
That's not characterised as an asset sale. The member seems to misunderstand what equity and debt and asset sales actually is. We saw a similar response to the Chorus proposal. He sold Kiwi Wealth out of Kiwi Bank. That was an asset sale. This is not that.
Someone on the government backbench is going to be leaving the House very shortly if we have more of those outbursts.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary question, the Honourable Nicola Willis.
Can the Prime Minister confirm that under the last government, Kiwi Bank sold its KiwiSaver business for $310 million to Fisher Funds, whereas under this government, we are focused on getting more investment into Kiwi Bank through a capital raise?
Yes, and that is what is the difference between an asset sale and a capital raise. They're two different things.
Supplementary question. Was that sale
Right Honourable Chris Hipkins.
Was that sale of Kiwi Wealth Limited conducted before or after the previous Labor government bought back the 49% of Kiwi Bank that the previous National government sold?
Well, I think you've made a point that it's not something he's got responsibility for. The Right Honourable Winston Peters. Now, hang on. You asked, can he confirm something that a previous government had done?
Which was exactly the question the Minister of Finance asked him immediately prior to that. So if he's responsible for the question that she asked him, which was to do with the actions of the previous government, how is he not responsible for my question?
Well, I don't know. If you want the Prime Minister to be responsible for the actions of a previous government, then that would be something new. But the Prime Minister may like to make a comment on that.
Look, I'm not responsible for the actions of a previous government, but what I would say is that the member's got himself a bit worked up into a lather and has gone down a bit of a wormhole, and the reality is this is a government that is committed to not having asset sales over the course of this term, but there is a legitimately serious conversation that we should be having in this country so that we can ensure that government capital is deployed to the highest possible purpose for the best returns and the greatest benefits to its citizens.
The Right Honourable Winston Peters.
With respect to the substance of Nicola Willis's question, does the Prime Minister know the massive associated scandal that went with that transaction?
I'm unaware of the details, and again, I'm not responsible for the actions of the previous government.
The Honourable David Seymour.
Supplementary. Does the Prime Minister believe that the public of New Zealand recognise the challenges their country faces and are up for an honest rather than emotional conversation around how the government manages its assets?
I think that we should make the case to the New Zealand people pro and for the position on asset sales. And the reason is very simple, which is that if you are a high-functioning economy like Singapore, one of the hallmarks of their success has been their asset recycling. They're able to take government capital and redeploy it to higher purposes that generate greater returns and greater benefits for their people. It's pretty simple.
That's right.
Supplementary question, the Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Can the Prime Minister tell us as to who privatised a third of the BNZ without going to tender, so that within 3 years that bank was the biggest bank in this country insolvent?
Not responsible.
I think that might not be. I'm not responsible for previous government's actions. Yeah.
The Honourable Chris Bishop.
Can the Prime Minister confirm that with reference to the Leader of the Opposition's remark about the sell down Kiwi Bank and the previous government, in 2016 the New Zealand Superannuation Fund acquired a 25% share in Kiwi Bank, and the Accident Compensation Corporation acquired another 22% share, all of which of course are on the Crown balance sheet.
Wait on, sorry. Do you want to leave the House? Do both sides want to leave the House? That will be happening if that sort of exchange occurs again. Right Honourable Prime Minister.
I don't have anything further to add to say that I think we can have an adult conversation, a serious conversation, a strategic one, to say if there is government capital or government assets that could or should be recycled for greater purpose and greater benefit for the New Zealand people, that's a legitimate question that we should have. But we should have it without trying to politicise it in the way that the member started today.
Question number 2. Debbie Naruwa-Packer.
Tēnā koe te pika. My question is to the Prime Minister. Does he stand by all of his government statements and actions?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Yes.
Supplementary. What does he have to say to the 29 kura and the 95,000 kaiako and akonga who have spoken out against the education reforms his government intends to pass tonight?
That they should be incredibly supportive, because this is a government that is focused on lifting educational achievement and attendance for Māori and non-Māori students. And the success that we have seen already in the lift of new entrant Māori reading rates under a structured literacy program are incredibly encouraging.
Supplementary. Does he stand by the answer the Minister of Education gave to our question on removing Te Tiriti o Waitangi obligations from school boards last week that, quote, elected parents to a school board should not be delegated what is a core Crown responsibility, unquote?
Yes, I do. I don't believe it's the board's responsibilities to discharge a Crown responsibility around treaty obligations. I believe it is the board's responsibility. Their number one priority is to make sure they get kids to school and they teach them the basics brilliantly and they focus on academic attendance and achievement.
Supplementary. Should Crown entities be expected to uphold core Crown responsibilities?
Has its relationships and its obligations on the Treaty of Waitangi, and I've addressed that.
Supplementary. Why should school boards, a specified Crown entity, not be delegated a core Crown responsibility?
We are making it crystal clear to board members that we expect in a country where half our kids don't go to school regularly thanks to a Labor Greens previous government policy, in a country where half our kids are not at the standard they need to be at on reading thanks to a Labor Greens education policy, and where 80% of our kids hitting high school are not at the standard they need to be at on mathematics, that we are going to do everything, and nothing is more important than setting our kids, Māori or non-Māori, up for success so they can access high-paying jobs. But we are not tolerating, after 5.5 years of an absolutely hopeless education minister that ran our education system on the ground, couldn't get the kids to school, couldn't teach them to read and write, and couldn't teach them to maths. We're not doing that anymore.
Good. Raui Waititi.
What is his government's track record of upholding their core Crown responsibility to honour Te Tiriti o Waitangi?
We as a government are very focused on improving outcomes for Māori, and I would appreciate it if that member maybe had some policy contribution to make as a party to what he's doing to improve educational outcomes for Māori, what he's doing to improve health outcomes for Māori or economic opportunity for Māori. And there's been nothing that I've heard from that member on those policies.
The Honourable Erica Stanford.
Can he confirm that the core tenet of upholding the treaty is around raising achievement for Māori students, and that is in fact been the first time in the last 2 decades we've seen an increase in Māori reading achievement through the phonics check?
Yes, I can. And again, what we believe on this side of the House is providing kids with an equality of
Prime
opportunity.
Minister, stop for a minute. It's not possible for the House to hear an answer with an immediate barrage as soon as he stands on his feet. Well, you clearly have greater capacity for hearing than I do. Prime Minister, you're going to be given a little bit of a better opportunity to answer that question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On this side of the House, we believe that Kiwi kids setting off on life should have an equality of opportunity. And one of the ways we do that is we lift educational outcomes for all kids, irrespective of their backgrounds, their ethnicities and their circumstances. And so I'm proud to say that our focus on back to basics has meant that for young 5-year-old Māori kids doing their first phonics checks 20 weeks into school life, there's actually been an 18% improvement where they're at or above expectations. There has been a 15% reduction in new entrants, Māori new entrant kids needing new and targeted support. That is a good thing, and I would hope that those members of that party, if they genuinely cared about improving outcomes for Māori, would celebrate that.
Supplementary.
The Honourable David Seymour.
Does removing treaty obligations from school boards actually stop anyone from doing anything they would like to do, or does it simply give more people the choice to live as they would like to in this country?
It makes it crystal clear that the primary #1 job of school boards is to focus on educational achievement. Nothing matters more than that.
Supplementary.
If
Crown entities are not expected to uphold core Crown responsibilities, And if his government is not expected to uphold core Crown responsibilities, who is?
The Crown does honour and uphold its responsibilities under the treaty. That is our obligation to do that. But in this case, when we're talking about school boards, we want school boards focused on getting kids to school and getting them set up for success. And I would hope that those members really would want those same outcomes for their kids too.
The Honourable Shane Jones.
To the Prime Minister. The importance of the Treaty of Waitangi as a part of the education curriculum, can you confirm that conflict resolution is a key outcome and sadly it's absent?
So, Rawari Waititi.
That question in no way violates 390 of the standing orders. Conflict resolution is a key part of educational outcomes.
Yeah, quite right, but the Prime Minister didn't stand up to answer.
That's
Rawari Waititi.
Can I give him a chance?
Why has he allowed David Seymour to test his regulatory agenda on our deregulation agenda on our mokopuna with the Early Childhood Education Reform Bill?
That was me.
With apologies, I don't really fully understand the gist of the question. I'll just say that the Regulatory Standards Bill is about making sure that we make regulation in a better way, that we get better quality legislation and regulation, and that's what's been proposed with that bill.
Supplementary. Why does his government feel so threatened by Te Tiriti o Waitangi?
We're not. We're a government that's very focused on saying it's high time that we improve educational outcomes for Māori, we improve health outcomes for Māori, we improve economic opportunities for Māori, and that's what this government's working really hard to do.
The Honourable Shane Jones.
Following up on the question of threatened, does the Prime Minister feel threatened by any of the Māori members of his cabinet?
No, I appreciate the challenge that I get from them on a daily and weekly basis.
Question 3, Dan Bidwell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Economic Growth and asks, what actions will the government take to boost the success of the New Zealand screen industry?
The Honourable Nicola Willis.
Mr. Speaker, last week I announced changes to the international screen production rebate, ensuring New Zealand remains a competitive and attractive destination for international productions to invest and create jobs for New Zealanders. Analysis shows that for every dollar invested, the scheme delivers around $2.40 in economic return, supporting more than 24,000 jobs and more than 5,200 businesses. The government backs New Zealand business to do well and compete on the world stage, and that's why in Budget 2025 we confirmed $577 million in new funding over 4 years for the scheme. The rebate will only be paid out if new productions come here and make investments in our economy. These changes that I have announced will generate more investment, create more skilled jobs and ensure New Zealand remains screen test ready.
Supplementary. How will the updated rebate settings make New Zealand more competitive internationally?
Mr. Speaker, global competition for large-scale productions and small and medium-sized productions is fierce. The updated settings ensure that New Zealand has its ticket to the game and lower the qualifying threshold to attract more productions, a change described by the Screen Production Association as a game changer, making the 5% uplift more accessible for productions delivering lasting economic benefits, extending eligibility to our world-leading post-digital and visual effects only projects, and removing the cap on above-the-line costs to bring us into line with international standards. These refinements respond directly to industry feedback and will help secure more consistent work for our world-class crews, technicians and creatives.
Supplementary. What has been the reaction from the screen sector to these changes?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the response has been overwhelmingly positive. The Screen Industry Guild described it as big news for New Zealand's screen sector. The Screen Producers New Zealand president said it is incredibly welcome news, a pragmatic decision, and the one that's the real game changer is taking down the value of projects. The New Zealand Film Commission said the changes will strengthen New Zealand's competitive position, and industry figure Cliff Curtis called the updates crucial to keep New Zealand competitive on the world stage. This government is listening to industry to secure growth, investment and opportunity in a very important export sector.
Supplementary. How does investment in the screen industry contribute to the government's wider economic goals?
Well, Well, Mr Speaker, we see the screen industry as part of our plan to develop talent, create higher paying jobs and double the value of New Zealand's exports in 10 years. It attracts international capital, builds skills and promotes New Zealand's brand to global audiences. Modelling indicates the improved rebate settings which we have delivered could attract as many as 15 additional international productions per year and increase foreign investment by several $100 million. Productions made here, like The Avatar and The Lord of the Rings, generate not just the jobs on set, but the flow-on benefits for tourism, hospitality. I'm told that one boat produced for the Avatar movie involved contracts with more than 40 small New Zealand businesses. We are backing this kind of activity, this high-return industry, to deliver growth for New Zealanders.
Question number 4, the Honourable Deborah Russell.
Tēnā koe te maunga Aotearoa. To the Minister of Finance, does she stand by her statement of 29 August 2024, quote, difficult conditions are starting to ease. We are already seeing the green shoots of recovery, unquote. If so, why?
The Honourable Nicola Willis.
Well, Mr Speaker, yes. Let me take the member back in time. That was the quarter when CPI inflation finally came back within the 1 to 3% target band, having been above the top of the band for 3 whole years, reaching a peak of 7.3% under the previous government, driving a cost of living crisis. 2 weeks before the statement the member quotes, the Reserve Bank had lowered the official cash rate for the first time since 2020. And in the following 2 quarters following my statement, GDP rose by 0.4% and then 0.9%. Business confidence was high. So yes, there were certainly green shoots of recovery. Like many recoveries, there have been bumps along the way.
Why did she claim in October 2024 that, quote, the green shoots of business confidence are re-emerging, unquote, when construction liquidations are up 23%, retail liquidations are up 16%, and hospitality liquidations are up 41% just in the last year?
Because, Mr Speaker, current activity in the retail sector recorded the highest response in 4 years, because building consents in terms of the monthly numbers are the highest in 2 years, and because the October ANZ Business Outlook showed a jump in confidence, the highest in 6 months.
Why did she claim on 5 November 2025 that an economic recovery is underway, the same day we learned that 160,000 people are now unemployed, the highest since 1994?
Because, Mr Speaker, as economic literature concludes, the foundations for an economic recovery are inflation back in target, interest rates reducing, and the conditions for investment and growth. Our government has rebuilt those foundations that you trashed.
No, I didn't trash anything, and it's not appropriate to use a question to attack the opposition. Deborah Russell. Honourable Deborah Russell. I beg your pardon, who's speaking at the moment? The Honourable Deborah Russell.
Is Winston Peters correct that, quote, we've got a situation where we haven't turned the economy around in the way we should have, as fast as we should have? I know it can be turned around, but not with this sort of strategy where you're not actually fixing the economy. If not, why not?
Well, Mr Speaker, Winston Peters is one of 20 ministers around the cabinet table who are absolutely of the shared collective view that we need to do more to recover this economy, to have it growing faster. I am in complete agreement with him about that. And I'll tell you what we all agree won't help, and that's loading more taxes onto every business and KiwiSaver account in the country.
Point of order, Mr Speaker.
I'm not calling you just yet. There are people who are constantly calling out during a question during the answer to a question in order to drown out what the answer is. If that continues, that and those people will need to leave the House. The Honourable Deborah Russell.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in that last answer, the Minister of Finance, I hope it was deliberately, because I can't think why she would have done it otherwise, deliberately misled the House about the nature of our tax policy. There is no tax on KiwiSaver. There is no tax on businesses.
And there was no particular allegation made in that, from what I was able to hear of it.
Entry. Who should Kiwis believe? The Minister of Finance last week that, quote, a hard-won...
Sorry, just a minute. Why are backbenchers from the government speaking during the asking of a question?
Who should Kiwis believe? The Minister of Finance last week that, quote, a hard-won economic recovery is now underway, unquote, or Winston Peters this morning that her government, quote, has failed to run the economy properly, unquote.
Mr. Speaker, I think New Zealanders should believe me, and they should also believe Winston Peters, that we want to turn the economy recovery around faster. I'll tell you, Mr. Speaker, if we're talking about the question of who should be believed, believe you this, your capital gains tax will hit every business and KiwiSaver fund in the country.
Order, Mr. Speaker.
A point of order, the Honourable Deborah Russell.
The Minister of Finance is incorrect. Our capital gains tax will not hit KiwiSaver, will not hit businesses. She is completely misrepresenting us.
Sorry. It would be a debatable point that I'm not going to rule on.
Not debatable. Supplementary. Why should New Zealanders believe her repeated declarations of an economic recovery when since mid-last year the economy has entered recession, unemployment is at long-term highs, food prices are up and record numbers are fleeing for better opportunities offshore?
Because, Mr. Speaker, I am the Finance Minister in a government that has delivered tax relief to working people. I am the Minister of Finance in a government that has got inflation back under control after 3 years of a cost of living crisis under the last lot. I am the Minister of Finance in a government that has seen interest rates fall. And, Mr. Speaker, I am a Minister of Finance who says no to a capital gains tax on businesses, KiwiSaver funds and hard-working Kiwis.
Supplementary question. Supplementary question.
Supplementary question.
Oh, sorry, point of order. Point of order.
Sorry?
Point of order.
Well, OK, a point of order.
Mr. Speaker, I seek leave for the Honourable Deborah Russell to ask 2 more supplementary questions on this question.
Leave is sought. Is there any objection? The Honourable Deborah Russell.
Mr. Speaker.
Questions.
Why?
Questions are heard in silence.
Why should the New Zealanders believe the claims that the Minister of Finance has made about data points when the lived experience of everyday New Zealanders is they cannot get appointments at the doctor, that the cost of living is up and that they simply cannot afford to live in this country?
Well, Mr. Speaker, from the tax lecturer, I'd expect she would understand that when the data shows that price increases have been far lower in terms of inflation, that food price inflation is far lower than it was under her government, those are real facts that matter. And because, Mr. Speaker, it is absolutely the case that were we to have a government with a higher inflation target, more taxes on everyone, things would be a lot worse. And that's the alternative prescription you're proposing.
Supplementary. Mr. Speaker, to the Minister of Finance, does the Minister of Finance understand that even though the rate of inflation has decreased, that still means that prices are going up and still means that New Zealanders are still worse off every week because her government is failing to fix this economy?
Good. We'll just calm it right down. Just wait. Calm it right down. The Honourable Nicola Willis.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I well understand and actually have daily recourse to reflect on the fact that when inflation has got as high as 7.3% as it did under the last government, and when that is sustained for a significant period of time, it does bake in prices across the economy at a higher level. That's right. And actually bringing that back down again takes a lot of work. And, Mr. Speaker, I also reflect on the fact that when a government puts forward proposals to reduce inflation, to increase supermarket competition by fast-tracking new supermarkets, to increase jobs by fast-tracking new housing developments, new ports, when a government reduces tax on investments that businesses make, it is supporting growth. And when other people stand up in this House and say that their one solution is more tax on the economy, I wouldn't take them seriously.
Question number 5. Catherine Wheaton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Health. What announcements has he made about improving access to timely, quality healthcare services in Hawke's Bay?
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Simeon Brown.
Mr. Speaker, today I announced the completion of Stage 1 of the radiology upgrade at Hawke's Bay Fallen Soldiers Memorial Hospital. This upgrade is part of a $35.8 million investment to double imaging capacity and deliver more than 10,000 additional MRI and CT scans each year for Hawke's Bay patients. These significant upgrades are all part of our focus on putting patients first and will keep Hawke's Bay patients get the answers and treatments they need sooner. My thanks go to the project team who delivered this critical project within a year of funding being allocated.
Supplementary. What benefits will this project deliver for patients in Hawke's Bay?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the first stage has delivered an additional 808 square metres of floor space, and from next week, a second MRI scanner will provide 4,000 to 6,000 extra scans per year, and a second CT scanner will double CT capacity with 6,000 to 10,000 extra scans annually. The facility has been designed to maximise efficiency with dedicated spaces for patient preparation and post-scan care to get as many scans done for timely quality access for radiology services in the Hawke's Bay.
Supplementary. How will these upgrades support the government's health targets?
Well, Mr. Speaker, these upgrades directly support our health targets to reduce wait times for patients. For cancer treatment, CT wait times will now consistently meet the 2-week target. Increased CT capacity means faster access to urgent imaging and quicker clinical decision-making, helping reduce emergency department stays. Expanded imaging will also streamline diagnostic pathways for first specialist assessments and support faster treatment planning for elective procedures.
Supplementary. What other projects are underway to improve access to timely, quality healthcare in Hawke's Bay?
Mr. Speaker, good news for Hawke's Bay. Health New Zealand is delivering a rapid build ward with 28 beds to boost capacity at the hospital and reduce wait times for patients. We're also progressing a linear accelerator and bunker to improve services for patients needing cancer treatment in Hawke's Bay. And more good news, the third endoscopy room will open later this month, further boosting diagnostic capacity. There's a lot of work underway in Hawke's Bay as part of our focus on putting patients first.
Question number 6, Laura McClure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister for Children, what recent reports has she seen on serious and persistent youth offending?
The Honourable Karen Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have seen a recent independent evaluation report on the Military Style Academy pilot, which shows 2/3 of participants reduced the frequency or seriousness of their offending in the 6 months after the residential phase of the pilot. I want to acknowledge these young people who have taken this opportunity to make better choices, Mr. Speaker, but I also want to acknowledge all the staff who have been involved, including the mentors and social workers helping these young people. The Military Style Academy pilot had a real focus on the transition back into the community, and we have seen some good results.
Supplementary. What else did the independent evaluation report show about the outcomes of Military Style Academy pilot participants?
Mr. Speaker, comparing the 6 months before the residential phase to the 6 months after, the pilot participants reduced their violent offending by 67%. Mr. Speaker, to put the outcomes of this group into context, the participants in the MSA pilot were matched with a cohort of 9 other young people. The MSA cohort had longer periods of non-offending than the matched cohort. The independent report shows there were wider benefits too, including involvement in education, work experience and employment, improved physical and mental health, reconnection with whānau and stable living situations. The evidence shows that these are all important protective factors that young people need as a foundation to be a success in life.
Supplementary. What have been some of the other outcomes for the young people on the Military Style Academy pilot?
Mr. Speaker, there have been 11 young people in total involved in the pilot. 1 elected to leave the program in the first couple of weeks. 1 young man tragically passed away in a car accident, and my thoughts go out to his family. 7 of the 11 had some alleged reoffending, generally at the lower level than before the pilot. And 5 of those are now back out in the community, and I'm told they're doing well with no further offending. Reoffending rates are not the only measure of success. Every single one of these young people has the potential to do amazing things with their lives and become the best versions of themselves, and I hope they can achieve that moving forward.
Supplementary. What is the government's record on youth crime?
Mr. Speaker, there has been a 16% reduction in children and young people with serious and persistent offending behaviour. We have taken an issue that was out of control and achieved our government target 4 years ahead of schedule. We've invested in and expanded the few things that were showing results, like the Fast Track program. But we also brought more accountability for young people and their actions. We're getting on with the important work of fixing what matters.
Question number 7, the Honourable Dr Aisha Verrall.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Health and asks, does he stand by his statement that the health system is finally turning a corner? If not, why not?
The Honourable Simeon Brown.
Mr. Speaker, in the context it was made, yes. We're seeing steady improvements with more Kiwis getting care sooner and wait times coming down. Patients are at the heart of everything we do, and after years of decline, the health system is starting to move in the right direction. We have brought back health targets because you can't manage what you don't measure, and we're now seeing those results show up for patients. There is still a lot more work to do. Too many New Zealanders are still waiting too long to get the care that they need. We are making progress, but we won't stop until every Kiwi can access timely, quality health care.
Supplementary. When Christchurch Emergency Department spent over a third of its winter days in code red, was it turning a corner?
Mr. Speaker, the majority of patients at Christchurch Hospital were being seen within 6 hours, and we are now measuring that through the health target which the previous government removed. And what I would point the member out to is the last government decided to remove the health target for shorter stays in emergency departments. The number of patients which were being seen within 6 hours when Labor came to office was 89.2%. When they left, it was 67.5%.
Entry. Is 400 patients attending Christchurch Emergency Department on every day in September a sign that the health system is turning a corner, or a sign that more people can't afford to see their doctor in the community?
Mr. Speaker, each year we see increased presentations at our emergency departments due to population. Well, if she's going to talk about GP fees, Labor let GP fees increase by 30% in their 6 years in government. That is on Chris Hipkins and the Labor Party. And what we're focused on is making sure that we're investing in primary care, investing in the workforce that's needed, and we are having to turn around a health system which the Labor Party decided to restructure during the middle of a pandemic.
Supplementary. Is that emergency department being crowned the busiest department in New Zealand and possibly Australasia a sign that the Canterbury health system is turning a corner, or that successful systems for keeping people out of hospital and the community have fallen apart?
Mr. Speaker, as the member will know, if people need to have emergency care, they should go to an emergency department. But we also need to make sure that we're investing across our health system, And that's why I'm proud that under this government we have made a record investment in primary care this year and a record investment in primary care workforce, all whilst the previous government increased GP fees by 30%.
Supplementary. Is erecting a tent care facility outside the Christchurch Emergency Department a sign that the health system is turning a corner or a sign that it is in terminal decline?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm not aware that was done at that hospital, but what I would say is that under her government, she allowed GP fees to increase by 30%. And whilst we are focused on trying to improve access to primary care through our primary care tactical action plan, the Labour Party still won't answer a simple question: do they support extended prescriptions to 12 months, which will save patients $105 per year and improve access to general practitioners? Why won't the Labour Party say whether or not they support that policy?
Question number 8, Greg Fleming.
To the Minister for Mental Health. What recent announcement has the government made about combating methamphetamine harm?
The Honourable Matt Ducey.
Mr. Speaker, the best way to take a drug is not to take it at all. The reality is meth destroys people's lives, rips families apart and harms our communities. That's why the government released a bold and comprehensive action plan to combat the harm caused by meth. We're taking action to reduce demand by increasing the range of addiction services in our communities that have been hard hit by this drug. The health actions are just part of a wider plan across customs, police and justice to combat organised crime and give people the support they need. Whether it's your child, a friend or a family member reaching out for support, this government is committed to ensuring support is there.
How will the government's action plan reduce demand and boost intensive treatment services?
Mr. Speaker, one of my top priorities is to improve access to addiction support so we can ensure when someone takes a brave step of reaching out, that support is there. We've invested an extra $30 million to deliver faster access to support by rolling out screening, brief intervention and referral for treatment services in 7 hospitals, boost existing treatment services so they can scale up, train more frontline workers while also upskilling the existing workforce, establishing new community early intervention and peer support services. Mr. Speaker, behind every one of these new services will be hundreds of Kiwis getting the support they need.
How will the government's methamphetamine action plan help prevent people from starting to use meth?
Mr. Speaker, the government's health response to meth is focused on stop people from starting, start people stopping and keeping people stopped. By expanding the Te Turu program, we can get in a lot earlier and actually stop our kids from starting. We know engagement with education is a powerful protective factor for preventing drug use. Te Turu has been shown to improve outcomes for our young people by reducing the number of students being stood down, suspended or excluded. There will also be a hard-hitting national media campaign from the Proceeds of Crime Fund. This campaign will raise public awareness about the dangers of meth and show support is available. The government is not just focused on ensuring the right support is in place, but on preventing Kiwis from getting to that point.
And how will the government's plan to combat meth deliver more early intervention and peer support services?
Mr. Speaker, a mental health and addiction plan is working with 77% of people seen within 3 weeks for specialist drug and alcohol support, with a frontline growing workforce, with our addiction workforce vacancy rates down by 17%. We don't want people to get discouraged from reaching out for support. If someone is ready to get treatment, then that support needs to be there. That's why we're boosting community-based early intervention and peer support funding, which will increase access to recovery groups which are proven to support long-term abstinence. Increasing availability of these programs in areas hardest hit by meth will ensure the right services are ready to support those who want to stop using. Our priority is to improve access to support so more Kiwis can get the help they need when and where it's needed.
Question number 9, the Honourable Marama Davidson.
Ki te Premier,
e tautoko ana ia I ngā kōrero me ngā mahi katoa a tōna kāwanatanga?
Yes.
Does he think it undermines the mana of the Royal Commission of Inquiry to continue with boot camps in the face of unequivocal opposition from survivors and care-experienced youth?
Well, what I'm proud about is this government has seen a 16% reduction in serious youth offending, which was completely out of control under a Labor Greens government, and our change to our general approach on law and order is working.
Does he stand by his statement that his boot camps are, quote, a powerful targeted intervention, or does he accept findings that the boot camp had insufficient preparation, therapeutic support and individual intervention due to a lack of capacity?
Yes, they're an important part of lowering serious youth offending, which is down 16% under this government.
Does he accept that expanding boot camps, despite official advice saying they're costly and ineffective, is a mistake when community-based, trauma-informed solutions like Ngāpuhi Social Services Youth Remand Program are having far better outcomes?
Serious youth offending is down 16% and the community is safer.
Why is it a priority to invest millions of dollars in boot camps when care-experienced youth implore the government to instead fund properly trained staff, better access to education and healthcare, and safe therapeutic spaces in existing residences?
Because this is a government that doesn't believe a 30% increase in violent crime, a 51% growth in gang membership, a doubling of retail crime and a quadrupling of ram raids is what is needed. This is a government that's invested in restoring law and order. That's why there are 29,000 less victims of serious violent crime. That is why serious youth offending is down 16%. That is why there is growth in police out on the beat and ram raids are down 85%.
Is the Prime Minister attributing the 70% drop to boot camps?
Can you clarify what drop, please?
In crime or reoffending. Is the Prime Minister...
Is that the same question or not? You've had an answer.
No. Didn't address it. He asked for it to be.
Rhetorically, that's right, but it is addressing the question. Mike Buttrick, question 10.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Hunting and Fishing and asks, what recent announcements has he made about herds of special interest?
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable James Meeker.
Mr Speaker, on Saturday I was with the Prime Minister at the hugely successful Seeker Show, where we announced the opening of public consultation on the draft herd management plans for wapiti deer in parts of Fiordland National Park and Seeker deer in the Kaimanawa and Kāweka Forest Parks. These plans outline a proposed new approach to sustainably managing these two herds. The changes will allow hunter-led conservation groups to better manage herd numbers, improve our native biodiversity and create opportunities for economic growth and jobs in those regions.
Supplementary. Why are these draft herd management plans needed?
Mr Speaker, a herd management plan is required before the Minister can designate a herd of special interest. These draft plans contain the blueprint for how we can sustainably manage Seeker and wapiti deer numbers, enhance ecological monitoring, strengthen community stewardship of the herds and improve our biodiversity. These plans are now open for public consultation so that all members can make a contribution and ensure that we reflect the values of our local communities in Fiordland and in the Central Plateau.
Supplementary. How will herds of special interest influence conservation outcomes?
Well, Mr Speaker, herds of special interest represent an exciting opportunity for all New Zealanders to better sustainably manage deer numbers in these two herds. By managing these herds for their hunting attributes, we can achieve smaller herd numbers and healthier animals. That means better environmental outcomes, enhanced canopy recovery, better meat recovery for our whānau and families, and more valuable hunting opportunities. It is a win-win for hunting and for conservation.
Supplementary. How can Kiwis have their say on draft herd management plans?
Mr Speaker, anyone, including members, can have their say on the Department of Conservation's website. I would like to encourage all interested parties to have their say. Let us know what needs to be improved or changed in order for these plans to deliver the best possible herds of special interest. Consultation opened on Monday and is open until Monday the 8th of December.
Supplementary.
Cameron Luxton.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. How does a herd of special interest management plan recognise the hard work that hunters do on the ground as conservationists?
Oh, Mr Speaker, a fantastic question from one of our best hunter conservationists in this House. These draft plans highlight the fact that hunters are one of our biggest conservation assets, and the plans actually acknowledge the contribution that they make to maintaining a healthy ecosystem. I can only point to examples of the great work done by the Central North Island Seeker Foundation in leading the Kaimanawa Field Duck Recovery Project, or the Fjord and Wapiti Foundation, who operate over 500 predator control traps. These are just some of the many examples of hunter-led conservation in New Zealand.
Question number 11, the Honourable Willow Jean Prime.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Lead Coordination Minister for the Government's response to the Royal Commission's report into historical abuse in state care and in the care of faith-based institutions, and asks, does she stand by her statement regarding her abuse and care redress decisions in May that, quote, here is what we can do now, we can do quickly, we can get in place so that we can prioritise that certainty and surety for survivors, unquote? If so, why?
The Honourable Erica Stanford.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Can I first acknowledge the National Day of Reflection for Abuse and Care tomorrow? In response to the question, yes, the context was about prioritising improvements to current state redress system that could be delivered quickly and would make immediate difference to survivors. I can advise the House that since those comments were made in May, in the June to September quarter, 1,056 new claims for abuse and care were lodged with agencies. This is a 114% increase in new claims on the previous quarter. This shows that survivors have responded to the certainty that the government redress decisions provided. In addition, over $13 million has been paid in top-up payments to over 1,100 survivors. This is an average of almost $12,000 per survivor.
Supplementary. How has the Minister prioritised speed and certainty for survivors when a survivor died before getting her claim settled because she had to fill in additional forms about her criminal history?
Mr Speaker, there is a process for those who are terminally ill to have an exemption from that process. The process is that it comes directly to me and I sign it off. One of those has come to me and it was signed off on the same day it was delivered. In that particular situation, the Ministry the Health New Zealand did not follow the correct process, but I can advise that payment will be made to the estate of that survivor.
Supplementary. Is lawyer Sonia Cooper correct to ask, quote, why should somebody who is terminally ill, hospitalised, unable to move in their last few weeks or months of life, why should they be put through this additional hurdle to get redress when it is hard enough in any event to go through the redress processes?
Oh, well, Mr Speaker, there is no additional step. The exact same step that you have to follow when you are terminally ill as a survivor to get your claim expedited is exactly the same as to get through this other process. All you have to do is show that you are terminally ill. It's the same process. There is no additional steps. So the person who is terminally ill provides the report to show they're terminally ill, and in the back end, we do all the rest. There is no additional steps for the survivor.
Supplementary. Why is she requiring survivors to fill in forms about their criminal offending before the legislation is even passed?
Mr Speaker, if the member were to read the legislation, she'd understand the answer to that question.
Supplementary. Why did she inform a survivor that their claim was not paused when MSD told them their claims could not progress to settlement until the legislation is finalised or the new declaration and consent forms are ready?
Mr Speaker, I don't remember saying that. If the member wants to put that in writing to me, I'll be able to respond.
Supplementary. Why did she promise speed, certainty and surety for survivors in her May announcement, yet months later claims were not progressing because of her new legislation and new forms?
Well, Mr Speaker, since we have made that announcement, we have put a huge amount of resource into making sure that there are more people processing claims. And I can say that we took the amount of claims being processed from 1,100 a year up to 1,550 a year. And this year we are on track to exceed that number because of the hard work that we are doing. So we are providing more certainty and more surety to survivors, and that is exemplified in the fact that more survivors are coming forward to make their claims.
Question number 12, Chloe Swarbrick.
E te Premier, e tautoko ana ia I ngā kōrero me ngā mahi katoa a tōna kāwanatanga.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Yes.
Can the Prime Minister guarantee that every New Zealander, particularly our young people, can get the support that they need to prevent them from sleeping homeless on the street tonight?
Well, that's what this government is doing. We've done a good job of making sure housing affordability is in place for owners and renters. We've taken about 5,000 people off the social housing wait list. We've taken people out of emergency housing, and we're continuing to support people who are in homeless situations.
Why will the Prime Minister not commit to ensuring that all New Zealanders, especially our young people, get the support that they need to prevent them from sleeping rough on the street tonight?
Well, this government's undertaken quite a few actions. As was announced by ministers just recently, we've put $10 million of additional funding into support services for rough sleepers, exactly in that situation. We've expanded the Housing First program with another 300 spaces. I think 100 of the 300 have been allocated already. 200 of the 300 are actually in Auckland itself.
Can the Prime Minister guarantee that a job is available for every young person who he has decided to make access to the job seeker support more difficult for?
This is a government that wants to see young people connected to employment, training and education, and we are putting expectations on our 18 to 19-year-olds to do exactly that.
Has the Prime Minister read the advice to his government from his officials that introducing his new barriers to young people's access to job seeker support will not reduce barriers to employment and could actually increase unemployment rather, or is he just ignoring it like he did his advice that his decisions would make more people homeless?
I'm proud of our record on housing, and when I consider that against a Labor Greens government that had a fourfold increase in state housing wait lists, that actually drove up house pricing 30% in a single year, drove rents up $180 per week, and we've taken 3,000 people out of emergency housing, put them into homes, and we are supporting homelessness at a time when the Greens member had their own minister and homelessness went up 37% despite spending $1 billion on it. Our record on housing beats that record on housing any day of the week.
If the Prime Minister chose to resource housing and job creation for all of our young people, would it cost more or less than his $3 billion tax cut to landlords?
Well, I'm actually proud of the tax cuts that we made to working New Zealanders, the people that Labor and the Greens used to purport to care about but didn't, and didn't support the support in that initiative.
The Honourable Shane Jones. A point of order. Chloe Swarbrick.
I seek leave of the House to address the questions from one of our co-deputy Prime Ministers about what the Auckland Central MP is doing about this homelessness issue, which this government has exacerbated.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I didn't hear what you just said. Could you say it slowly and clearly?
I was seeking leave of the House, Mr. Speaker, to address the questions put to me by one of our co-deputy Prime Ministers about what the Auckland Central MP is doing about the issue of homelessness, which this government has exacerbated.
No, you can't seek leave on behalf of someone else. The Honourable Shane Jones.
Speaker, in relation to job seeker support, is the Prime Minister aware a couple of Maoris are about to become unemployed?
This is a government that actually offers support to all New Zealanders.
Supplementary question, the Right Honourable Chris Hipkins.
Have ministers received any advice on potential...
Right Honourable Chris Hipkins, there are people behind you speaking. There are people throughout the House who are speaking. The next one who speaks will be leaving.
Have ministers received any advice on potential law changes to move on homeless people from central business districts? And if ministers have, why did the Prime Minister tell the House last week that they hadn't?
because the member's question was different from the one that he's just posed now. But I just say that the Minister for Auckland, as I have said subsequently over the course of the last week, is going to do everything we can to make sure that the CBD is safe for Aucklanders, that when we have cruise season upon us, when we have major events, a convention centre and a CRL opening up, we want people to be able to go into the Auckland CBD and not be intimidated. We are considering move-on orders, but we need to make sure the support is in place so that those folk, when they are moved on, actually have somewhere to go. We don't just move the problem around the city.
Will he guarantee...
Wait, just wait for the House to see. Let's stop. This is a bad day. There is too much discussion going on the government benches while questions are being asked.
Will he guarantee that homeless people won't simply be moved out into outer suburbs or other areas out of CBDs because they don't have anywhere to go?
What I can guarantee is that we are not a government that is putting emergency housing and 501s into downtown Auckland CBD to create unsafe environments for other citizens. We take this very seriously. That's why we've increased police on the beat in the CBD. That has helped in some dimension. That is why a Minister for Auckland is actually engaging with NGOs, government agencies, local government to actually identify what solutions together, collectively, we can do. That is important.
Supplementary, the Honourable Shane Jones.
The Prime Minister, can the Prime Minister confirm that thousands of visitors to Queen Street fear for their own safety, and it's not purely an issue of homelessness, but potential criminality, drug taking, and people defending victimhood?
Yes, I can. Many Aucklanders in Auckland refuse to go in the CBD for exactly that reason. We are opening up cruise ship season where visitors from overseas are coming to our country, and that is their experience in the Auckland CBD. So we will fix it up. Another mess created by the Labor Greens government,
Prime Minister,
but we'll sort it out.
Just stop. We're going to hear the answer in absolute silence. Barricading across the House like that is totally unacceptable. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Point of order, sir.
Point of order, the Honourable Kira McAnulty.
Sir, I don't dispute that direction whatsoever, but it needs to be pointed out that it is extremely difficult to expect order in the House when ministers regularly ignore the clear guidance and direction that you have given on the quality of answers. The Prime Minister just then used that answer, given to him by his own minister, to have a swipe at the opposition. No wonder there was disorder as a result.
Well, the reality is I just couldn't hear it. That's why I intervened and said we'll hear it in silence. If there is such commentary, it'll be stopped. Right Honourable Prime Minister.
No New Zealander wants to see homelessness in this country. The previous government would acknowledge that they spent $1 billion on emergency housing and homelessness went up 37%. That only speaks to the complexity of the issues around homelessness. What we are doing as a government is working with many agencies, NGOs, to actually get a solution in Auckland CBD, because it has to change. It will be different, and this government will get that job done.
That concludes oral questions on notice. We have a question from a member, the Honourable Rachel Brooking.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Chairperson of the Environment Committee. Why did an advertisement go out in her name allowing only 11 days for submissions on the Fast Track Approvals Amendment Bill when there was no instruction from the House for a report deadline under 6 months?
Catherine Webb.
The government has been clear to the public that it expects the Fast Track Approvals Amendment Bill to be passed before the end of the year. As the chair of the Environment Select Committee, I agree, as does the majority of the committee. Therefore, as per Standing Orders 198, I set out a timetable to ensure this expectation is met. I would like to point the member to Parliamentary Practice New Zealand, which makes clear that chairs can frequently and do call for submissions on the committee's behalf, and that the chair's actions are subject to the direction from the committee and must be endorsed by the committee at its next meeting. As that member knows, the Environment Committee voted by majority to endorse this call for submissions on Monday, the 10th of October. The government has been clear to the public that they want to deliver benefits to Kiwi shoppers as soon as possible, and the majority of the committee agrees. Yeah.
sit down. Point of order, the Honourable Kerry McAnulty.
Thank you very much, sir. The member is being asked a question in her capacity as chair of the Select Committee. Is it appropriate for that member, therefore, to be using the answer to a serious question, which was straight to the point, to be broadcasting what her view of the government's intentions are? I believe that is going beyond her responsibility to the House.
Well, the question did ask why she made a decision. The answer was far too long, but did appropriately point to the standing orders and also parliamentary practice that would back up the point and make further the point that any decision by a chair has to be backed by the committee, which clearly it was. Rachel Brooking, one supplementary. The Right Honourable Winston Peters, a point of order.
Mr. Speaker, given the answer that has been provided for this question by Rachel Brooking...
By who, sorry? Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Given the answer that has been provided to the question by Rachel Brooking, can I ask, how on earth did this question get onto the order paper? Because it's all there, no instruction from the House. Well, the House actually sent the bill to a Select Committee. The Select Committee gave the instruction. So how did this question get here?
Well, members are able to ask questions under the standing orders. If something that should be patently obvious to everybody is not obvious to the person asking the question, then it can be answered.
Supplementary. Which ministers or ministerial advisors, if any, did she communicate with about the 11-day submission deadline before the advertisement was issued?
Mr. Speaker, I'm not responsible for that particular decision. As the chair of the committee, I acted under section 198 to make a call for submissions, open up submissions, and this was within parliamentary practice.
Thank you, that's enough. Point of order, and it needs to be a fresh and genuine point of order. The Honourable Kerry McAnulty.
I refer you, therefore, sir, to Speaker's ruling 1852, made by Speaker Smith, which dealt with this exact situation. In the answer to the primary question, the member outlined that she made the decision, which was subsequently backed up by the committee. It is therefore, I believe, to be inappropriate, or certainly not living up to the requirements of her to address the question, to say it is not her responsibility when she has actually just informed the House that she made the decision. The question as to whether she liaised with or consulted with or indeed was instructed by a minister is entirely valid, and the House deserves a response.
Well, that may have been how you interpreted the question. It's certainly not how I interpret it. And I think the response that was given is satisfactory, and that ends the member's question. We come now to the Leader of the House.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the sitting of the House today be extended into tomorrow morning to consider the following government orders of the day: consideration in committee of the Regulatory Standards Bill, the third reading of the Medicines Amendment Bill, consideration in committee of the Crimes, Counter and Foreign Interference Amendment Bill, second reading of the Education and Training, Early Childhood Education Reform Amendment Bill, consideration in committee of the Crimes Legislation, Stalking and Harassment Amendment Bill, and the second reading of the Overseas Investment National Interest Test and Other Matters Amendment Bill.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. The contrary, no. Aye. The ayes have it. A party vote is called for. The clerk will conduct a party vote. Those